So a few days ago, I was sitting here doing one of the things I know how to do best, which is to make videos for you guys. You see, I was prepared, my camera was rolling, my light was on, the PC I needed to talk about and the hardwares were on my table. I went on set, I was delivering this lecture, unknown to me that my microphone was switched off. For those of you that make videos, you can pretty much relate to this thing. I had talked for about 12 minutes and then I thought that everything was done, delivered, sealed, signed. I took the footage home, tried to edit it for you guys, only for me to realize that there was no tone. And I was like, no, how can this be? This was supposed to be a very interesting video. But I said to myself, I do have a choice either to delete the video, make it again, but that wasn't going to be because in this particular video, I wanted you to see me opening some of the new accessories. I had a mechanical hard drive, I had an NVMe SSD, and I had RAM sticks all new. I wanted you to see it on camera, how I was going to open it and then talk about it. So there was just not going to be an option of me, remaking the video. But then I said to myself, it doesn't matter. The hardware money fans pretty much understands the game. I'm just going to go ahead and talk to you guys exactly what I was talking about in the video. See, basically what I was talking about is this, that people are kind of tired. You see, people who don't have a lot of money, and when they go online to want to shop for items, the least thing they want to happen is for them to take a gamble on the items they are buying. Say, for example, somebody doesn't earn so good and finally saves for 3 months and goes online to try to buy a laptop, and then buys a laptop gets delivered, only for you to start to use it and realize that some of the accessories, let's say the hard drive in this case, is almost failing. It's expected because some of these accessories, they are pretty much not new. They have been used. It's typical for a used item to want to fail at some point. No item is going to be, going to last forever at the end of the day. So it's normal for some of these, hardwares to just fail. But then this is not what the low income earner is expecting to hear. He or she doesn't want to understand that this thing can fail at some point. He or she just expects that when, say, the laptop is delivered, everything should be in the absolute best condition. Of course, this is not always the case, but then I was actually saying in the video that if you go into the hardware money shop, then you have the chance to actually, get items in a very good condition. One thing that tends to fail on these PCs might be the SSD. Some of the bad players out there, they have a way of, sourcing for these SSDs even when they are not new. But then this is not a good practice because this is a device that you tend to read and write from. Imagine a PC that's like 10 years old and you have been reading and writing from it for a very long time. At some point the SSD is going to fade. The best thing to have been done in this case is that this PC, even though it's new, should in any case be sold with an SSD that is new, and that is what you stand to get from the hardware money shop. Not just the SSD, sometimes talking about the RAM. I understand that it's also possible to get very cheap RAMs. If you go onto big platforms, you can actually get used RAM sticks, but I stand to be corrected. This is not the best thing to do if you are actually refurbishing PCs with the aim of selling them. The best thing you want to do is to go ahead, look for very decent and responsible new RAM sticks. This is exactly what you want to use in upgrading these PCs. You see, gone are the days where RAM sticks used to be very, very expensive. Right now, if you go to eBay or Amazon, you can pretty much get something within budget for you to be able to, upgrade your PCs. Most unfair when somebody has saved for 4 months, brings the money, tries to buy a laptop or a desktop PC, only to realize that the hardwares in this case are not as reliable as the PC itself. From my experience, one thing I have found out is that most of these, pre-built PCs, they are very, very solid. Even if they are used, they still tend to last for very, very long time. But some of the hardwares, like say the RAM sticks, the SSDs, the mechanical hard drive, might fail at some point because yes, it is just what it is. But then in this video, I did go ahead to show you some of the decent hardwares that we use for some of these upgrades, and I did go ahead to open a Western Digital 1TB HDD. This was not a sponsored video. As a matter of fact, I didn't receive any sponsorship email from Western Digital, but if they are to contact me to say, look, hardware money, we see that you have been using these parts for a very long time, and if you have 1 or 2 things to say, I would gladly do that. But then I did go ahead to open it to tell you that, look, The days are far gone where it was just not possible to buy these things for cheap. There are so many, ways you can actually get very decent HDD like this and use it for the PCs that you plan to refurbish. You see, if you have, a very, very old mechanical hard drive on your PC, one thing that tends to happen is that mechanical hard drive is going to be making some noise, and those noises, sometimes they are not just fun to listen to. And when people buy these PCs from you, depending on where you sell them, one thing that they tend to notice is that this PC is making some noise that they do not think they can bear with. And that might be one of the reasons why your customers buy your PC, they receive it, and then they want to send it back to you. But if you go to the Hardware Money shop, you can be sure that you can get, refurbished PCs, very good conditioned hardware with even new HDDs installed. I did go ahead to also open an NVMe SSD. I think on this video it was a Silicon Power. Of course, like I said, this video is not sponsored by Silicon Power. If they reach out to me and say, Hardware Money, we see that up till now you have used more than 1,000 pieces of these SSDs. What do you have to say? Would you be interested in a sponsored video? Of course, I'm going to jump on the opportunity and give my 2 cents and say that, look, this is an SSD I have been using for a very, very long time. I can say for free that it is a responsible SSD. So I did go ahead to open it up and used it to upgrade this PC that you are seeing right here. Of course, that wasn't the end of the game. I still had, the opportunity to use, Vengeance DDR4 RAM. See, Vengeance is a household name when it comes to RAM sticks, and this is one direction that you can actually, look towards if you are looking for RAM sticks that will enable you, do your upgrade. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. Yes, there is this temptation for you to always want to, buy used, because if you go online, you can see them for cheap. And sometimes you might be thinking, who is going to know in any case? The buyers are not going to know if this is new. But let me tell you that, look, from my experience, selling on the Hardware Money shop, I can tell you that some of these buyers, they know when the item is not new. They pretty much know how to check the lifespan of the SSD and pretty much tell you if the hard drive you've installed is not new. You do not want a situation like that. The best thing you want to do is to see how it's going to be possible for you to actually get solid parts in upgrading your PC. Like I said, gone are the days where things were terribly, terribly expensive. Right now, you can pretty much get, decent and reliable hardware like RAM sticks, HDD drives, SSD drives for pretty much cheap. And I'm going to be leaving a link in the description of this video so that you can actually see, take a look at it if it interests you. If you feel like you want to get one of these premium parts to upgrading your laptop, upgrading your desktop PC, feel free to use my affiliate links below. I do get a little commission from these transactions if you decide to go ahead and purchase it. And then if you are a buyer of, say, a laptop or a desktop PC, before you go ahead to buy your refurbished PC, wherever it is, depending on where you are buying this item, one thing that you want to ask is to ask the seller, in what condition is the hard drive? In what condition is the RAM sticks? And if you are in doubt, I want to tell you for free that you can easily go to the Hardware Money shop where you can be sure that the best SSDs, the best RAM sticks are going to be used in upgrading the PC that you have just decided to buy. Until I see you again in the next one, peace.